I'm Pauline Donnelly, broker and owner of Donnelly & Co., an independent real estate brokerage with offices in Boston and Martha's Vineyard. I'm also a certified coach, and this is Ask Me Really, a podcast where I answer the real questions that come up for real estate agents in their business. This podcast is my attempt to answer questions the way I would in a real coaching session. No filler or fluff, just the real answer. Every week, I will answer a question from an agent. The questions will always be anonymous. This week's question. Dear Pauline, one of my colleagues is doing really well right now. They have lots of listings, lots of closings. Their business just seems to be growing, and mine is at a standstill. I'm embarrassed to admit this because we're also friends, but I feel resentful and jealous. I know that's not okay. How do I stop feeling like this? Well, first of all, thank you for saying that out loud, because I think that's something many agents have certainly thought to themselves. And what you've described takes a certain amount of courage to admit. It's not a version of ourselves we want to be. We know intellectually that a colleague's success has nothing to do with our own, and we know we should be generous, and yet here we are, feeling deflated, feeling envious, every time their name comes up, refreshing the MLS to see what they've done now, and sitting with something that feels uncomfortably close to jealousy and resentment. You are definitely not alone in this. I have coached agents for years, and this comes up more than you might realise, and it's very normal. Most agents feel this at one point or another in their career, but most won't ever admit it. The fact that you're asking this question means you're already a step ahead of those agents. It's important to recognise the pattern that is developing for you. Your colleague gets a great new listing, their name is being mentioned, more and more you're hearing their name come up in agent circles, you notice in MLS that they've closed another deal, and each time it happens you feel a deflation and a quiet, ugh, why not me? That's the sting. Left alone, the sting passes, and it can actually be a good motivator for your own business. But what can happen is we start to feed it. We start obsessively checking their listings. We start tracking their activity. We're keeping a mental score. And we're sitting at our desks, not doing the things that would actually move our own business forward, but instead watching someone else do theirs. And it's a spiral. And it's one of the most effective ways to ensure that the gap between you and your colleague grows rather than closes. Wallowing in self-pity has a cost. And it's not just that it feels bad, it's that it actively takes up time and energy that you could be spending, and should be spending, on your own business development. Every hour you spend watching what someone else is doing is an hour you're not spending calling a client, following up on a lead, or getting in front of someone new. That spiral is expensive and it doesn't pay you anything. There's something else I want to address because it often runs underneath this kind of resentment without being named. You didn't mention this in your email, but I suspect this is how you're feeling. And it's the idea that your colleague's success is somehow luck. And that they happen to be in the right place, they know the right people, or they just got an opportunity out of the blue. That if circumstances had been different, it might have been you. When I was selling real estate, I heard "you're so lucky" more times than I can count. And I want to tell you what I know to be true from my own experience and from years of coaching. Luck is almost never the real story. What looks like luck from the outside is almost always the accumulation of work that wasn't visible, calls made when no one was watching, relationships that were nurtured over years, and the willingness to show up consistently when it wasn't paying off. So your colleague who's having a strong run right now has, I would imagine, almost certainly earned it. And that's not comfortable for anyone to sit with when you're in the middle of a slow patch yourself. But it does matter, because if their success is luck, then there's nothing you can do. But if it's hard work, which I am fairly confident it is, then there is something you can do about it. I know which story I'd rather believe about my own potential. And I want you to be honest with yourself about this. How hard are you working right now? Not compared to your colleague, but just compared to what you know you're capable of. And I'm going to give you a piece of advice that's going to sound counterintuitive. Congratulate your colleague. Pick up the phone, tell them you've noticed how well they're doing, and congratulate them. And there's a few reasons I want you to do this. Firstly, because you know how much work goes into getting new business. You know what it takes to win a listing, to close a deal, to keep a client happy through a difficult transaction. And acknowledging that in someone else costs you nothing, but it will mean a great deal to them. Secondly, because the act of doing it changes something in you, it's very hard to resent someone you've congratulated. The generosity of the gesture tends to dissolve the smallness of how you've been feeling. You can't really hold both of those at the same time. And thirdly, because the kind of person who can do that with grace is the kind of person that others remember. And I say this all the time to agents. Real estate runs on relationships and reputation. What goes around does come around, and your good nature will be noticed by more people than just the colleague you're speaking to. Okay, so once you've done that, turn back and look at yourself. Stop tracking your colleague's activity. You've done enough research on what someone else is doing. Now it's time to direct that energy somewhere useful, at yourself and your business. What would move your business forward right now? Specifically, who haven't you called in a long time? What past clients might deserve a check-in? What part of your prospecting are you avoiding? Sit down and set yourself a goal and then work backwards from it. You know what it takes to get a listing. You know what it takes to find a buyer. Map out what needs to happen and go do those things. Channel your energy positively and productively. Stop the spiral. I call this the competitive doldrums. It's not a character flaw. It's very normal. It's a very normal human response to watching someone else succeed when you want to be succeeding yourself. But there's also a choice in staying in the competitive doldrums. The way out of it is to direct the energy every single time. So this is what I'd like you to take away from today. Again, what you're feeling is not unusual and it's not shameful, but it is costing you in time, in energy, and in forward momentum, and it's going to keep costing you as long as you stay in it. Your colleague's success is almost certainly not luck. It's hard work, and that same hard work is available to you. The question is whether you're going to sit with that resentment or do something about your own business and start to work hard. So, go congratulate your colleague, mean it, and then get back to work. That's the job. Thank you for being here. If you have a question you'd like me to address on a future episode, send it to Pauline at askmereally.com. I read every email that comes in, and your question might just be the next episode. This is Ask Me Really. I'm Pauline Donnelly. I'll see you next week.